The glass walls of the tallest office tower in the city reflected the bright morning sun like polished mirrors, but inside the executive floor, the air felt colder than winter. Every employee froze when Billionaire CEO Victor Ashford slammed his hand onto the conference table and laughed loud enough for the entire department to hear. His sharp voice echoed across the room as he looked at the quiet single father standing before him. "Quit if you dare," he mocked, convinced the exhausted employee would never risk losing the only paycheck keeping his little family alive. The room remained silent as everyone waited for fear to win. Instead, the single dad calmly walked back to his desk, placed his family photo into a worn backpack, packed every belonging without rushing, and laid his company badge on the keyboard. Without looking back, he walked toward the elevator while stunned coworkers watched in disbelief. No one realized that this single decision would expose the true meaning of dignity, courage, and kindness, changing far more lives than anyone imagined. Before we continue this unforgettable story, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness always wins, and subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales if you believe every person deserves a second chance and that respect is worth more than wealth. His name was Adrian Mercer, a 36-year-old widowed father whose entire world revolved around his 8-year-old daughter, Nora. Every morning began before sunrise. He cooked breakfast, braided her hair after watching countless online tutorials, packed her school lunch, and smiled even when exhaustion settled deep behind his eyes. After dropping her at school, he hurried across the city to Ashford Dynamics, one of the most successful technology companies in the country. Adrian was respected by co-workers because he never complained, never blamed others, and quietly solved problems that many highly paid managers could not understand. Yet his humility often made ambitious executives mistake kindness for weakness. Since losing his wife 3 years earlier to a sudden illness, Adrian had learned that life rarely rewarded good people immediately. Hospital bills had emptied his savings. He sold his car, moved into a modest apartment, and accepted every overtime assignment available. He skipped vacations, new clothes, and personal comforts so Nora would never feel the weight of sacrifice. She still laughed at bedtime stories, still believed pancakes on Saturday mornings were magical, and still thought her father could fix anything. Adrian protected that innocence with everything he had. Victor Ashford measured success differently. He believed fear created productivity, pressure built loyalty, and money gave him permission to treat people as replaceable parts. Employees admired his intelligence but feared his temper. He rarely remembered birthdays, family emergencies, or names outside the executive boardroom. Numbers mattered. Profits mattered. Human feelings did not. The company had recently landed its biggest contract ever, but impossible deadlines followed. Teams worked late into the night for weeks. Adrian consistently stayed after hours while rushing home before Nora fell asleep. He survived on coffee, determination, and the promise he had made beside his wife's hospital bed that their daughter would always know love. One bright Tuesday morning, Nora woke with a high fever. Adrian sat beside her bed, cooling her forehead with a damp cloth while arranging emergency childcare through an elderly neighbor. His heart remained at home even after arriving at work 20 minutes late. As he quietly entered the office, Victor noticed him immediately. Instead of asking whether everything was all right, the billionaire chose humiliation. In front of nearly everyone, Victor questioned Adrian's commitment, mocked his family responsibilities, and implied that personal struggles had no place inside a successful corporation. The cruel challenge came without warning. "Quit if you dare," he declared with absolute confidence that desperation would keep Adrian silent forever. But something inside Adrian changed. Months of swallowed pride, sleepless nights, and silent endurance finally reached their limit. He realized that every paycheck earned through humiliation cost something his daughter could never replace, her father's self-respect. He packed his desk exactly as calmly as he had packed Nora's school lunches thousands of times. His framed family photograph disappeared into his backpack last. He nodded politely to his shocked teammates and walked away without anger, revenge, or dramatic speeches. The elevator doors closed. For the first time in years, Adrian felt frightened, but free. Back home, he found Nora sleeping peacefully. Sitting beside her, he wondered whether he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Bills still waited. Rent was due. Groceries were running low. Yet as his daughter reached for his hand in her sleep, he remembered why he had left. Children learn courage by watching adults. If he accepted disrespect forever, what lesson would she carry into adulthood? The following weeks became some of the hardest days he had ever experienced. Rejection emails arrived almost daily. Interviews ended with promises that never became phone calls. Companies admired his experience but preferred younger candidates willing to accept lower salaries. Savings disappeared little by little. Still, Adrian refused bitterness. While searching for work, he volunteered at a neighborhood community center helping teenagers repair donated computers. He believed knowledge should never depend on someone's income. The students quickly admired his patience because he celebrated every small success instead of criticizing mistakes. Parents noticed the positive changes in their children. Local business owners donated broken equipment just so Adrian could teach more young people practical skills. One afternoon, a retired engineer named Eleanor Brooks visited the center. She quietly observed Adrian encouraging a frustrated teenager whose computer refused to start. Rather than fixing it himself, Adrian patiently guided the student until the machine powered on. The teenager smiled with pride unlike anything Eleanor had seen in years. After the session, she introduced herself. Eleanor had spent decades building innovative engineering companies before retiring. She immediately recognized leadership that could not be taught in expensive business schools. Adrian possessed technical brilliance, emotional intelligence, humility, and resilience. She invited him for coffee and listened carefully to his story. Instead of pity, Eleanor saw possibility. She proposed an unexpected partnership. An abandoned warehouse on the edge of town could become a repair and innovation workshop where unemployed adults and disadvantaged teenagers learned practical technology skills while providing affordable repair services to local families and small businesses. Adrian hesitated because he had almost no money. Eleanor smiled gently and explained that courage was often the greatest investment. Construction began slowly. Friends from the community donated paint. Electricians volunteered weekends. Carpenters repaired broken furniture. Teenagers cleaned dusty floors after school. Local restaurants delivered leftover meals for volunteers. Every person contributed something, proving that kindness grows strongest when shared. Nora loved every moment. She proudly swept floors wearing oversized work gloves and taped handwritten signs welcoming visitors. She told everyone her father could fix computers, broken machines, and sometimes broken hearts too. The workshop officially opened on a warm spring morning. Business arrived gradually at first. An elderly couple needed their old laptop repaired because it contained decades of family photographs. A struggling bakery required its payment system restored before the weekend rush. A college student could not afford a replacement computer before final exams. Adrian treated every customer with the same care regardless of how much they could pay. Word spread faster than advertising ever could. People talked about the repair shop where honesty mattered more than profit. Customers discovered that if a device could not be repaired economically, Adrian explained why instead of selling unnecessary services. Families trusted him. Businesses recommended him. Former students returned as skilled technicians determined to help others. Meanwhile, Ashford Dynamics faced unexpected problems. Several experienced employees quietly resigned after witnessing Adrian's public humiliation. Productivity declined. Team morale collapsed. Expensive consultants failed to solve cultural issues because respect cannot be purchased. Even investors began questioning why talented workers kept leaving. Victor ignored every warning. Then one of the company's largest clients experienced a critical system failure requiring immediate expertise. Ironically, the technology involved matched Adrian's unique specialization better than anyone else's. Executives searched desperately. They discovered he had not disappeared into unemployment. Instead, he had built something remarkable. Victor reluctantly drove to the modest workshop expecting to negotiate from a position of power. Instead, he found a lively building filled with laughter, learning, and purpose. Teenagers collaborated beside retired engineers. Parents waited patiently while volunteers explained repairs. Every wall reflected hope instead of fear. Standing quietly near the entrance, Victor noticed something impossible to ignore. People genuinely respected Adrian. Not because they feared losing jobs. Not because he controlled salaries. They respected him because he respected them first. For several long minutes, Victor watched without interrupting. He saw Adrian kneel beside an elderly customer to explain a repair in simple language. He saw employees smiling naturally instead of nervously. He saw Nora proudly handing bottled water to waiting visitors. The billionaire suddenly realized he had built a company worth billions yet never created an environment filled with this kind of warmth. When Adrian finally noticed his former boss, he greeted him with calm professionalism. Victor expected resentment. He found grace. The billionaire admitted his company desperately needed help solving the client's crisis. Adrian agreed to assist under one condition. Every technician involved would be treated with respect, paid fairly, and publicly credited for their work. No employee would ever again be humiliated for choosing family over fear. Victor accepted immediately. Together, Adrian and his growing team solved the technical emergency within 48 exhausting hours. The grateful client renewed its partnership, saving Ashford Dynamics from catastrophic financial losses. News of the collaboration spread throughout the business community. Journalists focused less on the technology and more on the extraordinary story behind it. Headlines celebrated the single father who walked away from humiliation and built opportunity for hundreds of others. Community leaders praised the workshop for creating jobs, mentoring young people, and restoring dignity to those who had nearly lost hope. Months later, Victor quietly returned to the workshop carrying no contracts or business proposals. Only gratitude. He admitted that watching Adrian leave without anger had forced him to confront the leader he had become. He apologized sincerely, not because his company needed help anymore, but because his conscience finally demanded it. Adrian accepted the apology with quiet kindness. Forgiveness did not erase the past. It simply refused to let pain control the future. Years later, the Community Innovation Center expanded into multiple cities, helping thousands of families rebuild careers through education, mentorship, and compassion. Nora grew into a confident young woman inspired by the courage she witnessed that unforgettable morning when her father chose dignity over fear. She often told new students that the greatest lesson her father ever taught had nothing to do with computers. He taught her that every person deserves respect, every setback can become a new beginning, and sometimes walking away is the first step toward the life you were always meant to build. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales so together we can spread more stories that remind the world compassion is never wasted.